Basically, everything is already done with the fact that all three of the flower shapes, we have the sunflower, the rose, and the lotus flower, are all completed down to bedrock with their floor decoration and the very simple, black concrete wall decoration. That way your eyes get focused right down into the colors of the floor. So, yeah, a bunch of stuff has happened. I mean, we've done a lot of stuff. This area was supposed to be for the sheep farm as well, which we're going to have the flower farms and the sunflower and the lotus flower, because those were the two biomes that basically combine the flower forest and the swamp. That way we could get all the colors we could possibly need. However, with some more thought and review of the actual farmer we're going to use for the wool farm, it cannot be placed inside of a flower forest biome because, as you can guess it, once you bone meal that grass, a flower on top will respawn in a sense, and the shears will not be able to shear the sheep. I don't know why, the shears can't shear a sheep if they're sitting on top of a flower, but that's just Mojang for you. But yeah, everything is all done here. I've gotten to over 10 million blocks broken in this total world over here. So the reason why there's two names over here, if you haven't heard the story before, this Squishy Skittles account was the original account that I've always played on before, but that was, of course, something that I had for an extremely long time, and ever since, Mojang forced us to migrate, I can't really have access to that account anymore because I don't have anything to access the email and things like that, and I've tried everything I could to get it migrated over, but Mojang support is pretty much unable to help me because I don't have the official receipt, because the time I got that account, I was, really young because I was still growing up, and I can no longer claim that it is mine in a sense. So I made a whole new account, which is why the Squishy AC comes from. I tried to do a Squishy Skittles AC or something like that, and, I couldn't really do that, so Squishy AC is the name that I settled for because it has AutoCraft tied it to it. So yeah, that's the last point of where that account was. So since then, ever since Mojang required us to migrate, I've already mined 4 million blocks in this world, which is just crazy to think about. And we are getting up there in terms of stone, so 3.5 million stone, and netherrack slowly creeping up there. But a lot of blocks have contributed to that. The most surprising part here is the amount of pistons and observers that I've mined. It's kind of crazy. And even the sticky pistons. So I've destroyed a lot of blocks that I've already placed a lot of as well. Including 100,000 slime blocks, just ridiculous. But yeah, these numbers are kind of crazy. And if you're wondering how many of those are netherite pickaxes, pretty much a majority of it is, because I used diamond pickaxes before we had access to a bunch of netherite. 130,000 axe uses is pretty high. But yeah, a lot of stuff has been mined. Of course, a lot of stuff with shovels as well. Really isn't even a diamond shovel on here, so 25,000. Pretty much nothing at that point compared to, the grand scheme of things at this point in time. But yeah, now that we have everything done here, it's time to actually work on some farms, and we'll be back once we have a couple of the other ones that we're not going to be in the flower farms. And once we have those ones, we'll work on the flower farms, and then we'll go from there for storage and things like that. Alright, so a bit more time has passed, and we have all of the 4 other farms that we kind of need, in a sense, for this area for all of the dyes. So obviously we have a cactus farm, not really big. We might expand this a little bit later, but for now this will be perfectly fine because we're never going to use that much green dye. It's sort of just going to be an area that we can get all of the dyes in one spot. That way, we have them if we ever do need them. 2 of the Chromoss farms here, so we have the 2x2 green-tiled one here, and we just have 2 of them because this will give us enough to sort of supply this cocoa bean farm here. So these 2's only purpose is to supply bone meal for this one. Now we can't really input this automatically, so what I'm probably gonna have to do is make like a shulker box display system like that or something like that. That way you can, access the shulker box, take out what you need, and then just manually fill those dispensers up. From testing, the shulker box didn't take long at all because this is a 1 game tick cocoa bean farm, so it is ridiculously fast. Also, not to mention the size that it is. And it has 2 individual cores using this trapdoor. When it goes down, you can't place it there, so it places it on the one behind you. You're looking at this one over here, and this trapdoor will constantly flap, and you'll alternate sides like that. So it's a really ridiculous farm there. So link to the original creator down in the description below. I believe it was activation. That thing, crazy, and definitely a lot more compact than I would be able to design my own. So a huge thank you to them for that. This will be we would get our brown dye, and like I said, this shulker box didn't take long at all, so there's really no reason to fully automate getting all of the bone meal in here, basically because it's just not possible. There's just no feasible way to get all of this stuff in there, and this top one will be even worse because, you know, these logs rotate around. This block is basically nullified for that. Then getting something into this part here would be kind of impossible to do the same thing on the other side, so it's just not feasible to do so. But all of this bone meal with these 4 dispensers here will give you more than you will ever need in terms of cocoa beans, so I'm not too worried about that, and I'm perfectly fine with having, you know, this being a little bit manual, just depending on if we can get, you know, some shulker box displays and probably on both sides from the bone meal. That way we can always, you know, fill it up real quick if we ever need to do so again. So that knocks off the brown dye, the green dye, and the lime dye. If we also needed to do so, we could use some of the bone meal, if we have excess of it, to craft some white dye. But within this area, we actually have a spot where we can get white flowers. That way we can get white dye, so we don't need to worry about using the bone meal for something that's unneeded. So yeah, we're actually going to build a couple of these moss farms in the other flowers as well. That way, you know, each flower farm can kind of be sustained by itself. That way we can turn one on individually, and we don't need to run all of the bone meal farms to like stock up on bone meal like we did with the tree farm area. We weren't around for that. Basically, for our tree farm area district, we have 4 of the old. This was before the Chromoss farm was out. We had 4 of Dark's bone meal towers, so those were about 27,000 a piece, and we basically ran those, stockpiled a bunch of bone meal inside of the giant tree in the center, and then we had a call and request system. This one, I think it's a lot better because of how lag friendly these new Chromoss farms are. Just have the individual farms for the individual flowers, flower farms. That way we can, you know, sustain those and not need to rely on a call and request system. It was a fun system to design, that call and request system, but I think at this point, you know, we can pretty much just make our own. These are a lot easier to make than Darks. Still kind of annoying, but they're a lot easier, and of course the main important thing, a lot lag friendly, because if we were to run all 4 of those towers of Dark's bone meal farm, we would be just under 50 ms. We could barely do anything else on the server, which is not ideal. With these, it's a lot more lag friendly, so we can do a lot of things as well. Yeah, actually, when building this, didn't realize if I made it 1 block either back this way, it wouldn't have worked because of the redstone blocks and the floor decoration, but it just so happens to fit absolutely perfectly and not have anything interfere with it, so that's weird. But yeah, enough rambling. Let's get on with the actual building of the flower farms, which is, of course, the whole point of this render in the first place. Alright, so with that short time lapse there, you saw us build 8 of the flower farms that we're going to be using. These ones are Kiwi's flower farm. So we used 8 of these ones here just in the locations where we can actually get the flowers that we want out of this. So with this, we get all of the flower types that we can actually get to then create all of the dyes. There is one stipulation, of course, because we can't get a black flower, which is only the wither rose. So on this section over here, you can see I kind of carved out a area for the river. This actually is considered a river right here. Part of it you can see it says beach and then a river. So we can actually get a very small squid farm, but it'll work because it'll be the only spawnable spot in this area for squids to do, provided we AFK on this little thing right over here. This will be the AFK's point, you know, somewhere in this area. This one block here. And this is making use of the mini HUD despawn sphere. That way we can sort of see this, and then we can create a sort of small squid farm to create some black dye, which will then give us access to then get the gray dye as well, with then craft in black and white. Because we have AutoCraft in the server, hence the name, I'm probably going to make up some system. That way we can either put the flowers to go directly into storage for flowers, or if we wanted to then automatically craft them into the dyes, we can do that, set up a whole system, which will probably be in the center one itself. That way we can just craft them all into one big system and have one big dye thing like that. So we will see, but the main one, the centerpiece here is, of course, the sunflower, because it's where the portal links to. So we'll probably have an extra layer above everything here that'll be the main control hub in a sense. That way we don't need to go to each individual area. Of course, the only one we'll have to go to physically is going to be this one here for the cocoa beans. And then actually technically we'll need to go to the lotus flower as well, because that will be where we'll AFK for the black dye from the squids. So just technically we'll have to go to all of them, but you know, we'll get our use cases out of all of them as well. But ideally, at least the flower farms themselves and the moss farm over there for the farms for the bone meal, we should have at least those be controllable from the main hub above this. So I'll probably design at some point, either on a stream or, you know, just on my own time. But yeah, let's get on to working with that, and we'll be back once we have some more progress. Alright, so a bit of time later, and the farm is all done. We have the main UI here from the portal. We didn't end up really going with the squid farm to get the black dye and such, because it's really not needed, and at the time we have a very fast squid farm to begin with, so there's really no point to make a slow one here just to get the black dye when we can bring over shulkers upon shulkers from the main squid farm very, very easily and everything like that. So we have the switches for the bone meal farms and all the flower farms. We did go away with having a individual bone meal farm per flower farm and having an individual on-off for each flower farm. So yeah, so we have all these lamp indicators over here. This is for actually all the crafters here that we have. I am a bit of an idiot, and I thought that, no, this, because all the other ones were crafted, that you get green dye just by crafting the actual cactus in a crafting table, and that's just not how it works, because that slipped my mind with all the other colors here. So the green dye basically just gets outputted as cactus, and then gets sent to the storage where it can't be sorted. So we have the cactus, for the most part, go over here into the other sorted there. So we just get it in regular form, and we'll take it to the main super smelter to actually smelt it instead. But I believe we run the farms for a little bit to get most of the dyes. I think some of them are actually being used at main storage right now, but definitely have used the farms to get a lot of dyes. It mainly goes to dye directly. There's really no need for us to have the storage in flowers, but I think it was always a good addition to have that as well. And we'll go over these crafters over here in a second too. But yeah, as you can tell, some of the dyes we can't just get by crafting with a single flower type. We need to actually input them to be crafted together. So we get green and white gives us lime. I guess you can do sea pickles, so you gotta smelt those, and we wanted to avoid that. So we just need the crafter here. Same thing for the blue and green to get cyan. You think you can get pink, but we didn't have any pink there, so we can craft that one as well. Purple, and then the gray. So you'd input those into the corresponding chest there in shulker box form. It would go up here and get unloaded. There are these tripwires here that would actually go around and initiate the first initial box placement down here. That we don't got to worry about doing that automatically, or that we don't got to worry about doing that manually. And then here we have a little bit of a weird system that goes, but yeah, this here is a one wide tileable 2x1 die crafter. So any color you put in there, it is craftable to be with another die to get new die, basically. It'll output 2 of the same item type. Obviously, with the crafter coming out, this will be a heck of a lot easier to design because you don't need to worry about outputting 2 separate items. It'll all just output it at once. But with the AutoCrafting table that we have here, we need to actually do it like that. And these crafters will be actually very similar too. We just have to add filters onto these ones, so they're, that way all the items go to their own specific slot. There's really no need for us to filter them out here, but for the purpose of collecting all of them, instead of just being one hopper overfilling, we also need to filter out the seeds. So that's really the only point we're filtering these things out here. Otherwise, there's no need to do that, but the seeds are a big pain, so we kind of just burn all those and go from there. But yeah, take a quick look at the actual area over here. We'll go out and see as there is no way to actually get out there. But yeah, we made the storage actually in the sunflower one right above the first 4 flower farms. Then on the right here, we have the other 4 flower farms with bone meal farms that actually don't do anything. So there's no point in them actually being here besides to take up a little bit of space on the map here. Otherwise, the farms being over on the right side wouldn't make too much sense besides where they are located for the actual flowers. So you can see with the rail line over here that goes to all the stuff there. Then we have the water stream down here that leads from the bone meal farms over to this farm as well. And then we also have our output water stream right here too that leads over and back to the storage. So yeah, basically everything is all good to go. We've ran it for quite a while. There is quite a bit of bone meal definitely stored up here. There's also a sorter at each one of the inputs for the bone meal, just because the Chromoss has a chance to output a bunch of like seeds or moss, just because of, unfortunately, some of them get stuck and get down into the hopper instead of all being burned in the lava. So you do occasionally get it. It's not perfect, but simply adding a sorter at the edge of, or at the entrance for the input here will work just fine. The alternative around that is to just put a sorter on the output of the farm, but then you also got to keep up with how many items you're getting per hour. And with our farms over here in the rows, that is going to be pretty ridiculous to do. So what we decided to do instead is just put it at the actual input for the farm. So we have 2 tall Chromoss farms. I think it's 11 modules per side, and each layer makes about 8,000 bone meal per hour. So you do the quick math there, we're like almost 170,000 bone meal per hour between these 2 farms. It's quite ridiculous. That is for sure. And then we have our 2 cactus towers over here for our actual green dye. But yeah, so one of these farms is responsible for one of the other flower shapes that we dug out here. So I believe that this one on the right here is responsible for the one on the lily on the right there. And the one on the left is for the sunflower in the middle. That makes the most sense with how these water streams are aligned, because you can see this one cuts through, it goes like this, and then this one cuts through over here to lead over to this one. And we have our cactus output water streams to go to the main storage. So everything's all connected to the main storage, besides the cocoa bean farm, because it is a player farm that we need over here that I did show off before. So that one has its own, little just shulker box here. There's really no way to load bone meal or get an output from this. So basically, if you need to use that farm, you'll be over here for a couple seconds anyway, and you already have multiple shulker boxes. So there's really no need to have any input. You'll just input the bone meal yourself that you can get from the farms as well. But yeah, everything then connects up to here, and we have it all either be crafted or stored in the regular. I probably should just add the sorter over here and change it to actually cactus, which I'll probably do right now, because there's really no other way for us to get the cactus, because we never really have it in flower mode. So we might as well just change this thing up over here to do that. And that's pretty simple to do because we already got cactus going in there. Take it out and then it'll start flowing in. And that's actually quite a bit of cactus that we're getting from that farm there, just being over here. So yeah, look at that. That'll be all sorted now into the storage there. All right, back up here, close that off again, and we'll start traveling the cactus circle in. I did also add a little thing up here that will display items being input on each side. That way you can kind of tell if you wanted to as well, and also one for the crafters when they're crafting, even though that green one is not going to be doing anything. And that's also, if we wanted to swap that, we use this one over here and then turn the chunk loading grid on that we have all the way up top there. We can also do that as well for the main one here. Now, obviously, the other ones aren't chunk loaded. There's nothing there, so the chunk loading is really only for the crafters if they are running mainly these ones over here, because they will take quite a while to go through the shulker boxes. But yeah, this area is all done. Sadly, I didn't, like I said before, didn't really get to show too much progress on this, especially when we were mining out the flower shapes here. But I do love how these areas turned out. 100%. I love the flower shapes. It's always unique to do some of these, sort of shapes like this, rather than just doing a regular perimeter. These farms, as we don't need any mob spawning or things like that, it's definitely worth it to me to have this sort of area all like this. But yeah, on the map too, it looks even better, I think, just because it kind of stands out. I do kind of wish that this wasn't the dark green here. We changed the terrain around it a little bit, but the dark green fits the rows obviously very, very well. But yeah, overall, I love those areas turned out. And even though it may not have been, as planned for the video, this will be used quite a bit, especially for dyes when we need to do like, stained glass or terracotta or all that kind of stuff. Definitely will be used quite a bit. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this episode. Make sure you like, subscribe, all those sorts of things, and I'll see you in the next one.